Here you go, the first look of our application, nice and clean. We have greetings, and then we have our current title, summary, then we have our experience in a timeline format. We have our emojis nice and clean, and then we have our education, skills with rating that we just had our rating with stars as yet. Then we have our achievements. Now just press deploy an app. So we have our pf deploy repo, and man, just press save and deploy. Now let's wait for deployment. So there you go, our deployment is created and the application is getting deployed, and there you go, our application is successfully served on Amazon Amplify AWS. So guys, in this video we'll build our own portfolio website with Dioxus using Rust. We'll use Dioxus 06 for this video, and we'll build our web application, which can obviously be served for other platforms, but we'll focus on web application for this video. We'll use multiple concepts like RSX, components in Dioxus, and different other concepts. We'll bundle our application for web. In a previous video, I did cover bundle your application for desktop, web, mobile, and different operating systems. We also deployed to GitHub pages. The video should be popping somewhere on right top. I highly recommend you guys, if you haven't checked it out, first check out that video before moving on to this one. And as part of this video, we'll ship our portfolio website with AWS Amplify using AWS console. So there's lots to cover in this video. Make sure you hang tight and watch till the end. Now, as we start, there is a link to my Discord in description. We are building up a community of like-minded people, and we do tons of discussions there, and we share a lot of learnings. We learn from each other, and I do share lots of tips and tricks there. So make sure you join it, and let's begin. First of all, move to the File Explorer and make sure you are in a clean directory. Open the terminal. Now we'll be using Dioxus CLI for this video. Now, if you're someone new to my channel and watching something related to Dioxus or cross-platform development for the very first time, then I'll highly recommend you first check out the playlist of cross-platform development on my YouTube channel before moving on to this one. And we'll just do dx init. We'll just select the bare bones subtemplate and full stack as false, dx router as false. We'll just create a single page application, which is a portfolio app for this video, and Tailwind CSS as false. Will serve default for web. And once we press enter, as you guys can see on my left on File Explorer, we have our project structure up and ready. Now let's close our terminal and move to main.rs. Now in src, add the components directory. Inside, add achievements, contact, education, experience, home, mod, skills, social, and summary. These are all the components that will add in separate modules, separate files. And in main, add, just let's first of all remove all of this that we don't need, and icon we don't need. Let's delete the hero, and we'll just add our home component in a bit. And right here, let's add mod components. Now let's move to our mod.rs, and here we'll just do mod achievement, mod contact, similarly mod education, experience, skills, social, and summary. Now let's start with home. So we'll add the home component first. So pretty straightforward, the home component, and it's kind of the main component that we have. Return element, component, and here we use star, and rsx, div, and class as home container h1, class as home heading, and we just say hello with a wave signal saying I am. Here you can just write out your name. So Let's say I'll just write out hello, I'm semicolon, and h3 class home subheading, and here we can write our title. So I can just say hello, I'm a senior software engineer or lead software engineer, or whatever the title you have with respect to your field. Now here we'll use other components. So let's move to summary. So we'll just say pub fn and summary and element and component star and rsx. Now this is kind of a base template that we'll have in all of our components. So let's copy it and just keep on changing the names. Social, skills, and home we have already, experience, and education, contact, and achievement. Now in our home we want to call out all of these components, and the position of the component or the sequence depend on how you want to display. So let's say I want to display a summary, and we just import the crate. Similarly, I want to then display experience, and similarly let's import the crate, and then I want to display education. So just import the crate and skills and achievement, and finally we have contact. Now social is something that we'll refer to in our contact. So achievement, contact, and so this positioning again you can change based on how you want to position on the UI. So this is all from our home component, pretty straightforward. CSS will add at the very end, and we'll refer to home component in our main. So move to main and just say here we want to use the home component. So go to mod and make this pub so it's accessible, and now we have home here, and we'll just quick fix by using the home. So we have our main ready. We are referring to a style sheet which is main.css, and we'll add css at the very end. We have our home component, so mod is done, home is done. Now let's start with summary. Now summary is a place where you want to put a highlight about your career. You want to call it summary or highlight. I just named this as summary, and class as section summary section, h2 class as section title, and then summary, and we want to add a emoji for summary, and then we have p class as section content, and let's say I am a passionate engineer, specialization in backend engineering, let's say. So this is some summary that we want to put, and if you want to add more to your summary, then this is the place where you can add. So this is pretty straightforward, our summary component. Now let's add the education component. So section and class as section education section, and div section content wrapper, and an h2 that says class as section title, and then we have education, and we have our emoji, which we can either specify here or in a separate span, something like this, but I'll just keep it with the education. And then a list of all the education that we have. So education list and an h3 that says education actually after the list we should add an item first. So li that says education item, and then we have our h3 that says education institution, and let's say, I don't know, Oxford University. And then we have a span that tells us about the duration. So education duration, and we want to say 2016 to 2020, let's say. And then we have a p tag that tells us about the education degree. Education degree, and we just say, let's say, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. And maybe you want to add another item, so let's copy this and maybe add before, and let's call this from, I don't know, Harvard, and maybe let's say from 2021 to 2023, and you did some Master of Science in Computer Science. You can list down more education, but I'll just stick with a couple of these education that we have. Pretty straightforward, nothing fancy. And we have our education component ready. Now let's move to experience. So similar to education, it's very straightforward for experience, and class as section experience section, and h2 that says class and section title, and then we have experience, again using some emoji, and then we have our list that says class as experience list, and an li that says experience item, and then we have div that says class as experience heading, and then we have an h3 that says class as experience role, and let's call the role as, I don't know, backend engineer. And then we have span with class as I don't know, experience company, and let's name as Google, and a p tag that tells us about experience duration. Experience duration, and Jan 2020 to, let's say, present, and we'll just say 4+ years, let's say. Now similarly, let's add something about experience description. So class as experience description, and let's say designing and developing high performance backend. Now if you want to add more, feel free, but I'll just stick with these and add maybe another list. And let's say, I don't know, some intern role maybe. Experience as backend intern, and maybe from, I don't know, 2019 to Jan 2020, and let's call it learning phase. So we have our experience, and you can add more. I'll just stick with a couple of these experiences in our experience. Now let's move to achievements. Now let's add achievement. Again, pretty straightforward. Class as section achievement section, and an h2 that says class as section title, and then we have achievements, a medal for an emoji, class as section content highlight, and let's say build an open source Rust library, maybe add a bullet, and let's say build got an Oscar, I don't know, and won a slow race, or any other achievements that you have that you want to showcase. So we have our achievements, and now let's move to skills. So let's add the skills and section as class section skills section, div class as section content wrapper, and h2 with class as section title, and skills with some emoji again, and ul that says skills list, li that says skill item, and then we have div that says skill name Rust, and then we want to rate div class, and we would want to do skill rating, and let's say maybe a 4 out of 5, or maybe less, maybe more, I don't know, but we can put our rating here. Similarly, I don't know, let's say Docker, let's give a I don't know, 3 out of 5. Similarly, let's have a I don't know, Gates, and similarly let's have a C++, maybe a 4 out of 5, and then we have our Java, and similarly let's say, I don't know, Python. So anyways, this is something that we can give ourselves any rating that we want, or based on how we feel confident with our skills based on that particular specific skill. So we have our skills component up and ready. Now let's move to socials. So for socials, again, pretty straightforward. Div class as social container, and class as social link href that leads us to https github.com, and here you can paste your username. Just paste my on github semicolon github for this channel and github. Now let's have another one that guides us to, let's say, Twitter, and we'll just name this as Twitter. And another one that says maybe LinkedIn, and LinkedIn. Similarly, we can also have a link to mail to, so social link, and here we can just say mail to maybe your email at semicolon.com. This is your email, so when user clicks it, they are automatically redirected to their email client. So pretty straightforward, social. And finally, let's have contact. So our final component, again, pretty straightforward. Section, contact section. Remember, the purpose of this video is to get you guys used to typing RSX, dealing with components, and obviously deploying your application, bundling your application, and deploying on AWS. So for contact, we have a fun emoji and a P that says class as section content. It says feel free to reach out to me on, and here we'll just reuse the social component that we just had. So there you go, pretty straightforward, everything broken down into smaller chunks and components. So back to our README, we have built an application, a web app with Dioxus 06. Now just one last thing that's left is providing CSS. So open the main CSS, and here just remove everything that you have already. So I just paused and add all of the CSS. You don't need to worry if you want to use the same CSS. I'll just drop a link to my assets, my Git, and you can just use this CSS as it is for styling. I have added some comments here and there as well for you guys to understand what I'm trying to do. So just pretty straightforward. Most of things is kind of same for all, as you guys can see here, and pretty straightforward. So make sure to use the same CSS for getting the same feel, the same look, the same UI. So we have our main CSS as well done, and in our main we have our component referred as well. So for the very first time, let's run our application on local and try to get a feel of the application before we move to deploying our bundled application. Now just open your terminal and make sure you are in your project and just do txserve. Remember, we don't need to provide platform because the template that we selected is default for web. So just press enter and let's wait for the application to build. And there we go, we have our application successfully built. Now just head to this URL in your favorite browser. Here you go, the first look of our application, nice and clean. We have greetings, and then we have our current title, summary, then we have our experience in a timeline format. We have our emojis nice and clean, and then we have our education, skills with rating that we just had our rating with stars. As you guys can see on hover, we also have highlighting of specific rows. So Rust, Docker, KX, and all the skills that we add. Then we have our achievements. Oh, got an Oscar. And then we have our contact option where we have our Git, Twitter, LinkedIn, email, and any other options that you want to add, or more cards that you want to add. Do let me know in the comments what else you would want to add to this application and make it a perfect portfolio for yourself. Then let's move to our ID and let's bundle it and then serve it on our AWS Amplify. So back to our ID and let's add a new tab, close the current one, and we'll just go ahead and bundle our application. So dx bundle. Remember, the default project structure is served for web, so I just use dx bundle. But remember, if you have any other default serving, then do dx bundle dash dash platform as web. Okay, so there you go. We have our portfolio built, target, and we have our dx release, and we have our public folder where we have our assets, WebAssembly, and index.html. Now let's go to our GitHub and we create a repo and we just publish all of these. Remember, to publish to GitHub pages, you need to provide your base path in your URLs. And how do we do that? I already shared in the video where I deployed on GitHub pages, should be attached or popping somewhere on right top. Make sure to watch it. But for deploying to Amplify, we don't need any such thing. So make sure just do dx bundle default as it is. No configuration needed in your Dioxus toml file. I can show you guys. My Dioxus toml file is literally this, pretty clean, nothing, no configs here. So let's go to our GitHub and let's add a repo now. So here we are on my GitHub. Just move to new and add a new repo. So let's call it as pf deploy and deployment files for portfolio web. And it's a public folder, add a readme, pretty straightforward. Create repo. There you go, we have our repo, and now you can either go to your IDE and just do commit of your public directory, or you can just move here and just press upload files and just drag and drop the files directly in your browser. So let's wait for our files to add. We are adding everything that's under assets, index.html, and our WebAssembly. So once the files are added, we'll just type out our commit message at portfolio bundle, and we have everything that's required. Yes, so let's commit the changes. So once we have our code ready on our GitHub, now let's move to our AWS console. So here you go, we are on our AWS console. Just search for AWS Amplify if it's not in your recent. So just press AWS Amplify and let's wait. Now just press deploy an app, and here it will ask you for your provider. So GitHub, Bitbucket, CodeCommit, GitLab, or to manually deploy an app from Amazon S3 or a zip file, select deploy without Git. You can just select here. Now since we have already add our code on GitHub, so we'll just press Git and just press next and do the authorization. And once the authorization is completed, you can just select the repository. You can either provide access to all of your repos or selected. So I just provided the access to selected repos. So we have our pf deploy repo and man, and just keep everything else as default and just press next. Now build settings, again no need to change anything, nothing to change in the advanced settings as well. Just keep everything as it is. Next, and you have your review of the settings. Just press save and deploy. Now let's wait for deployment. So there you go, our deployment is created and the application is getting deployed, and we can access our application right here on this URL. So let's wait. So here you go, as you can see it's green, application is successfully deployed. Now just go to this URL and there you go, our application is successfully served on Amazon Amplify, AWS Amplify, and we have our hello, I am semicolon senior software engineer and whatever, all the details. So our application looks nice and clean and successfully deployed to AWS Amplify. So back to our ID, and as listed, we just add a web app and we add a portfolio web app and we bundled it and then deployed on AWS Amplify. I hope you guys learned something new. If you do, like the video, share with your friends, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you.